it definitely, I think, was a little bit rough in game 1.
Yeah, I think you could see some early shades of that. Like, I did think their early game was really good.
Great.
I thought that was really well coordinated. When it got to the point in the game where sometimes you don't get the time to practice it in scrims as it gets later, as you're looking at these mid-game and late-game objective contests, that's where it really seemed like communication started to break down on Shopify. By contrast, FlyQuest looked like they were on the same page completely going into those
They just had to integrate into their world.
Exactly.
Right. Once they all found themselves on the same plane of existence, they were ready to go and they were locked in. But now we're into a brand new game, into a brand new draft, and bans are done for the first half. It's Poppy, Jarvan, and Gangplank banned out by FlyQuest. Shopify removing Ambessa, Jace, and Rumble, as Fly will first pick Taliyah for the second game.
Yeah, but it is going to be a selection of second pick again. So we haven't really been seeing that at all. So it is cool that they are prioritizing that counter pick and really want to see what they are going to do with it. It is Ryze, Taliyah, two very popular champions these days. Mid lane, I think, is more important than ever in competitive play. And these are two champions that can move around the map really, really well and affect those side lanes.
Yeah, you and I were kind of talking about this where it's like, oh, an extended laning phase, guess what position just got even more important because early mid prio is so crucial for the reasons that you stated, right? Because junglers might be doing kind of this power farm to 6, these mid laners can hit 6 or even earlier roam to their side lanes. As we see, Corki, another really popular staple bot lane pick coming in for Shopify.
Might just be Gnar or Aphelios, that's what I would guess. You know, those are kind of the general answers we're seeing these days. But yeah, to continue on the mid lane point, it's like you have an extended laning phase. Your role quest gives you empowered recall and additional move speed with your free tier 3 boots. You know, it really does work super well in competitive, and you have, you know, the mid lane working well with the support, with the jungler, and then kind of trying to take their lead and push to the side lanes. That kind of seems to be the recipe for how League of Legends is played right now. And we'll see if anyone is going to buck the trend. I do feel like there should be a lot of room for, you know, second pick, I guess we'll call it like counter pick, whatever, you know, because that's obviously decoupled from blue side, red side now, so I have to kind of change my vernacular.
I like counter pick, that's good.
Counter pick. But in top lane, I think you should be able to play with combat sums sometimes. When people are blinding some of these champions that are able to be punished, I would like to see people try that more and try to play more of a split push style.
Well, we got Thresh here in this one, so some defensive capabilities for our Aphelios. Cryogen's going to be on protection duty for that immobile carry, while also looking to make some picks here with the death sentences. We'll see if he can hit any Mad Life Classics. It might be 2026, but we still got to appreciate where we came from, right? As the Zhao locked in for Contractz here on Shopify, and I feel like we got a tale of two Contractz last time, because in that first game, he had an amazing start, but then the coordination with the team as things went on, not where they would have liked to see it. So I want to see Contractz have that first 15-minute performance the whole game through here in the second one.
Yeah, and I'm especially looking for coordination with Seos and whatever he decides to lock in. And then also with Zinie, right? Because Zinie, they did so heavily prioritize getting his Azir ahead into a good spot. And then were really unable to take advantage of that, even when they were doing a good job sending him to side lanes to collect gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually the first Thresh in NA since 2022 spring when Ayla was playing it. If you remember when he was subbing for Core JJ, and he was just spamming Thresh, and that was kind of the era where Core was really hyping him up and saying, you know, he's the second best support, only worse than me, right? And he was playing the Thresh, so cool to see the return of that. Thresh Aphelios becoming popular once again. Anytime Aphelios is there a lot, you start to think about Thresh a little bit. That was such a classic pairing, especially when he was first introduced.
Yeah, and we even saw it peeking out a little bit already at Worlds before this kind of extended laning phase kind of came in with all of the early season changes, checking in.
Wrong league. I'm sorry, they're not playing today.
FlyQuest also taking out the Nami and Gwen on their side, where Shopify kind of prioritizing taking some of these other jungle picks out of Gryffinn's hands.
Yeah, especially just really good pairings with Taliyah, right? You know, it's point and click CC, they're banning away. They've already taken the Xin. Now you're taking out the Vi as well as the Pantheon. Both easy setups for that seismic shove. That's generally what you think about. You can also, you know, generally look toward things like Jarvan, but that's banned out. You know, we've seen Wukong banned out. So a lot of these common pairings are already gone. So it'll be interesting to see where Gryffinn goes. He's a very flexible player. This guy plays all kinds of stuff. You know, he was giving an interview talking about how he's like the only jungler who can play Riven jungle because these other junglers haven't played enough Riven, and he plays all kinds of stuff. He likes Volibear, and he likes Skarner, and he likes all kinds of different styles of champions. So it'll be cool to see where he goes. as Seo's going to be going for Neeko. So this time they are going more for the lane dominance here. Last time they were on the receiving end of that karma. This time they should have the push, and we'll see, as long as they can play that well, avoid some hooks, which is also very easy to do with Neeko because you can just throw your clone into the hook every time they're going for it. So it should be a good 2v2 for them.
Yeah, it's Neeko is still a menace, and I really like the pick here. Sion coming in for Gakgos in the top lane. And here might be that Volibear.
Dusk and Dawn volley.
Get Kobe on the phone. Somebody call Kobe. He's always going to be a fan of the Volibear lock.
I mean, also has point and click CC, right? Yep. You know, it is really strong right now. It is a lot more magic damage, especially if he is going for the Dusk and Dawn style that people kind of are expecting. Mostly people are going for that more AP style, but it's point and click CC for the seismic shove. It is a really strong duelist, and it's someone that, you know, especially if you are going more for those solo queue style builds, you can kind of just duel against people later on. It becomes really strong even in 1v1s, can take down solo laners, great on dives, obviously can turn off those towers. It is a really powerful pick right now, even though it's not as popular and competitive as it is in solo queue. It can be an absolute menace.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, it's already something that Gryffinn is comfortable bringing out, right? And fits within this composition well, which also has really nice front line for this Aphelios to set up, right? Like, we see a lot of potential for the rest of his team to kind of be setting up Massu in a more traditional, like, front-to-back 5v5. Meanwhile, we have Fudge locking in the Gnar.
This is the first competitive Volibear jungle that I can see this season so far.
Oh, nice.
I've only seen it, I'm only seeing games in top, so it's popular in solo queue, definitely. Expecting the Dusk and Dawn rush.
Yep. Absolutely.
Gonna be excited to see how he actually gets it done.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it as the game goes on. The Sion being locked in there for Gakgos also makes the Gwen ban in phase 2 make a lot of sense. Generally, if you want to play a big meatball tank, banning away something like Gwen is always a good choice. But Fudge with the Gnar counter pick on that. Again, this goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the draft. Choosing to have the counter pick side of the draft means I better not see something lame that you could have picked as your first pick as pick number 5. They picked the Gnar into the Sion, so now it's up to Fudge to guarantee that that choice in the draft, that strategic decision, has value.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see if it actually does work out. Gnar, I feel like you have to really be so good at this champion to create big advantages, you know, really utilizing the passive and the transform to get your health back and just trading aggressively under tower, really punishing for every single CS. Because if you just kind of farm even against the Sion for a while, he's going to build some armor, and then nothing you do matters. And that's kind of just true of every Sion matchup. But yeah, we'll see if Gryffinn is going to go for the full kind of like solo queue style build, which would be Dusk of Dawn. People really like Navori, sometimes even as early as second, because once you have Dusk and Dawn plus Navori, you just straight up kind of beat everyone 1v1. Like the cooldown reduction on that is ridiculous. You're just spamming out W nonstop. You know, your E cooldowns and stuff are so low, so it is super, super powerful.
Yeah, and I'm super curious to see how this bot lane ends up going, especially with this Thresh pick and with Cryogen and Massu looking really well coordinated with each other in that first game.
Okay, Seos and Bvoy losing a little bit of HP here. Cryogen and Massu want to play this so aggressively, but as the minions are just now really colliding for the first time here in the lanes, we are waiting for Kangas, who's standing by for an interview with Griffin's brother. Hold on 1 second. That interview's coming up right after first blood, because FlyQuest gets paid. Massu's got the first kill. Kangas, what does Griffin's brother have to say about that?
Well, I'm here with Jordan, Griffin's brother. It sounded like Game 2 is going well for FlyQuest, and you flew all the way out to cheer him on. So tell me about what this experience has been like at the Riot Games Arena watching Gryffinn play.
It's been amazing, man. Seeing Johnson play on stage has been such a pleasure. Yesterday, we were at the FlyQuest facilities. They were very welcoming. Watching him play and communicate with the team, it's been really, really fun.
Now, I know that you're an older brother, 10+ years on Gryffinn, and you started playing League together, correct?
Well, so I started playing League Season 1, and I went off to college, left him my laptop, and he started playing ranked. I came back, and I think I was 22, he was 11, and we started playing ranked together. We were climbing, you know, I hit gold, he hits gold. He hits plat, I hit plat. At some point, I could not catch up. He just went diamond and masters, and I stopped there, but it's been a pleasure watching him climb.
Well, I know it means the world to him to have you here, but I know there's a lot of people back home cheering him on. Any shout-outs for them?
Yeah, shout out to Chicago, man. Everyone watching, supporting Johnson, supporting Gryffinn. Thank you guys all for watching. FlyQuest 2-0.
That's it from us. Back to the casters.
Some confidence there. The 2-0 getting called as Fudge wants to go for the wall up there onto Gakgos, but misses the CC. Back in the bottom lane, it's Gryffinn showing up for only a moment here, but Bvoy and Seos are safe for now.
That wallop was actually so close to hitting. It looked like it just almost tagged him. And if it had, that would have been close to a kill because you're going to cancel the Q, you're going to get the auto after it, and maybe be able to go for a flash follow and a finish there. So big deal that it did not hit. But Massu and Cryogen, back-to-back games, crushing it in the 2v2. I thought this was going to be super favored towards Shopify based on the matchup. When you pick Neeko, you're playing for the lane dominance, and it did not go that way.
Yeah, and I really loved seeing that early aggression out of them, right? With this Aphelios Thresh, recognizing the windows they have to capitalize on any sort of hooks and pullbacks. I mean, we expected kind of Bvoy and Seos as the bot lane coming in to be a little bit more of the stable one. They've played together for a while. This is their second year together. But Massu and Cryogen are looking really in step.
Yeah, they've been looking really, really good. And I think Cryogen is the one who kind of had the least attention, least hype around him coming in. People know Gakgos from last year being the sub for Bvoy. People know Gryffinn because of all the hype around him. But Cryogen, you know, I guess he just turned 19, excuse me. I thought he just turned 18. But he has been around for a while, but hasn't played a tremendous amount of competitive, only has those 8 games of NACL experience. But talking to ThinkGuard, he thinks he has a lot of promise. You know, mechanically thinks he's really, really good and really has to focus on kind of learning that more like shot calling style that you expect from supports. You know, really often it is about support jungle in the early game, dictating where you're going on the map, how you're going to play around vision, and that's such a difficult thing to pick up really quickly, so it's going to be about how quickly he can do that.
Well, I think his Karma did a perfectly fine job in game number 1. They were bullying the lane, they got that early tempo they wanted. Now here in game number 2, it's all about the skill shots. Can we keep Massu protected, and can we lock up those high-value targets on Shopify Rebellion? It's a 500 gold lead here, or just thereabouts, for FlyQuest with no kills on the board. As Zinie is moving into the bottom side river, keep your eyes on the Realm Warp. Fudge down to 300 HP here on the top side, trying to trade aggressively like you were talking about earlier, Isaac, using the tower shots with the bonus health from Mega Gnar, trying to keep the pressure on.
Yep, you got to do that. You got to keep that pressure rolling here. And Gakgos is going to go back to base, so Fudge is going to be able to crash this wave. We'll see if Gakgos even uses the ult to get back to wave, or if he's just going to accept that he'll lose a couple minions here.
Attempted death sentence from Cryogen, but no target. Gryffinn hanging around once more, but he's only going to find a ward to clear out, and it does seem that we'll get the Sion ulti back to the lane there from Gakgos, not planning on needing that one to join any sort of a fight here soon. About halfway through the teleport timer for him, as well as Gryffinn is going to be in some danger. Immediately jumped on by Shopify Rebellion, but they don't have the burst. Seismic shove back the other way as Contractz is low. Gryffinn flashes away. Bvoy over the wall here with the Valk, as Zinie is down to 40% HP. FlyQuest looking for more. They want the enemy Ryze, but they can't quite find him. Massu tags Bvoy with a Gravitum, and they lock up the Corki. Flash over the wall, keeps him alive. Seos in some danger, flayed right back into the unraveled earth, and Quad picks up another one. FlyQuest have a 3-1 game.
Nicely done there by FlyQuest. Shopify really committed to trying to burst down Gryffinn, but the E came down. He got that shield before they could actually get the kill off. Contractz and Seos both flashed on him to try to one-shot him there, but they couldn't get the kill. It meant they had to commit so much more to killing off this Volibear, and while you're chasing after this no HP Volibear in the back of the pit, you are getting roasted by the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, that gave Taliyah kind of a perfect window to get in here and do damage. As you see those flashes going down, Quad is just going to lay down this wall, hit the knockback right there, which really just sets up the rest of this fight. I also really liked Cryogen in this fight, really trying to set things up on the Thresh. And yeah, I mean, there we go.
The play onto the unraveled earth is
really good.
And knockback is really good from the Taliyah Thresh combo.
But definitely have to make sure that he is on the same page with Quad with, you know, who's doing what in what order, right? Because, you know, the first seismic shove pushed the hook out of the way. You know, the flay can do the same thing. But really nice combo. Great skirmishing early on here. And Gakgos definitely taking a bit of a beating. Fudge is going to continue trying to trade aggressively here. And this is what you want to do. You want to be in their face nonstop. Every time you're transforming into Mega, you're getting health back. He has the fleet.
Okay, Gryffinn's in trouble again, though. Has to use the ulti defensively over the wall as Shopify invade for the second spawn of the red buff here in the FlyQuest jungle. Contractz is going to get away with claiming that one, as now Gryffinn missing the ulti. Significantly less threat for his plays.
Yeah, and this should be able to set up Dragon for Shopify. I was wondering, okay, when we see these mid laners roam right, Quad joining that river fight previously, Zinie using the Realm Warp to get onto Gryffinn, keep him down, and then be able to rotate up for Shopify to take this first Drake. So I like that we're already seeing the mid laners using both of their semi-globals to join up with the rest of their team.
Yeah, I really like it. And I also just like the fact that Contractz was playing around a better buy. The Sheen has been purchased now for Gryffinn. But one of the awkward things about Dusk and Dawn is the build path is a little bit weird. So, you know, you're sitting on a Kindle Gem when they have Tunneler on the other side, or a Kindle Gem and a Dagger. It's just not that same amount of power that you are going to be having over on the side of the Zhao. So Contractz, knowing he has that better buy, you know, using that mid lane movement from Zinie and just kind of getting in the face of the opponents here.
But once that item's complete, man, you are feeling pretty strong. Dusk and Dawn is definitely one of the winners, it feels like, from all of the new season changes, as Voidgrubs are claimed, all three, here for the side of FlyQuest. You can see Gryffinn activating the Scryer plant next to the Wraith camp there. The chicken camp. I still sometimes call it the Wraith camp from all those years ago.
I still call it
I accept both.
Because, like, bird camp covers all birds.
Are Wraiths birds?
I don't know. They're bird-like.
I thought they were like ghosts.
Yeah, isn't a Wraith a I don't think a ghost is a bird.
They could be bird ghosts.
Oh, yeah. What if it's the ghosts of all the birds that got killed in the camp before?
That's kind of grim.
Especially
I
since
just
it's
always
backwards.
call them, like, when I do jungle pathing spreadsheets, I just call them birds.
I mean, to be fair, that fits in the little, what do you call them, columns or boxes or nodes or whatever on a spreadsheet better than chickens does, right?
Yeah.
You're the expert on this.
There you go.
I only asked one syllable, too. Birds.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, we've also only got one kill on the side of Shopify Rebellion. It's been a pretty quiet early game from them, and FlyQuest are enjoying more than a 1,000 gold lead because of it. The single Drake claims so far.
He saw the E in the early smote and lost it.
Unlucky.
Oh, well.
We'll look the other way. We didn't see it.
Quad knows he's behind him, though. That's dangerous stuff.
Yeah, Quad throwing out the Unraveled Earth there prevents Contractz from being able to charge audaciously towards the FlyQuest mid laner, and Quad is just fine. Does pop his Ghost there, though.
Yep, is going to have to use that Ghost. Has the phase rush as well, so obviously a lot of movement speed here when that does get going. And as much as every time we pan up to top lane, Fudge, it feels like is just smacking Gakgos around. It is 101 CS to 101 CS, and now your selection of counter pick here instead of first pick starts to feel like, all right, what did we really get done?
All right, Gryffinn's going in, immediately stuns up Zinie. There is your seismic shove into the Unravel. It's a textbook play in the mid lane, and bottom side, the 2v2 is a dub for FlyQuest as well. 5-1 game now as Shopify falls flat in two separate lanes at the same time. And Cryogen threads the needle there with a death sentence. Massu is going to need a little bit more damage to finish off the kill, and the single auto attack will do it. FlyQuest styling on him in the 2v2.
This FlyQuest bot lane is so fun to watch. Really making the most of this Aphelios Thresh. They just seem so well coordinated and are taking every opportunity to try to make Bvoy and Seos' life absolutely miserable.
I mean, that was just so well done. They get the initial kill. We missed most of that, but then the sniper Q threads through onto Bvoy to be able to allow him to get the Gryffinn root. So he roots him up, sets up for that hook that Cryogen then nails. They get another kill. That is beautiful stuff. Lane dominance coming through back-to-back games from the FlyQuest bot lane. Last time they had to come back. This time they are just slamming them. So both of them, again, same thing, setting it up. I guess he had no clone, or maybe you can't use the clone while you're rooted. That's something I'm not actually sure about. You know, I don't know how that interaction works, but I'm assuming he just didn't have it. Massu just back-to-back sniper Qs, setting up Gravitum roots and perfect hooks there to follow from Cryogen. And then he realizes the minions are still tanking. I can just walk through with the Ghost. Tower shot not enough to knock him down.
Good shit, Massu. We're fun.
I agree. That's probably about how I would summarize
Bro
it
is
as
too locked in.
True.
Massu didn't even, it's like, I know.
That's clean comms right there. All right, 3 words is all you need.
I feel like that's such an ADC thing, though,
Brother, there's minions to kill. I can't be talking.
When we panned
More click, less talk.
When we panned to Sajid yesterday, and they were like, Lions was hyping him up. Sajid's just like stony-faced, farming.
So the observers did confirm. So his Neeko clone was just on cooldown. So he must have used it, in a trade earlier, or maybe trying to block a hook or something earlier. But didn't have it and does get punished.
Okay, so critically, we've got the second Drake of the game about to spawn here in 15 seconds. Mid lane and bottom lane quests are completed for FlyQuest. They are not for Shopify Rebellion. Pretty big difference in power there, as FlyQuest have to be a little bit mindful of Quad's position. Seos does hit him up there with that ulti, but no, it's Seos' Neeko in trouble as Gryffinn goes forward and he finds the kill. Jumps back over the wall there with the lantern, staying alive for now. Shopify trying to escape. Fudge knocked back with the seismic shove. Zinie's your next target. He goes with the blast cone, clears the wall. Nice placement on that one, but still, it's only a consolation prize. They've already lost their support, and the control over the bot side river belongs to Fly. Quad still looking for a little bit more. Wants seismic shove, won't find it. Decimating smash prevents the counterattack from Shopify, and FlyQuest continues looking for any more opportunities. They're already 3,500 gold ahead, and they just claimed the Drake.
I love this aggression coming out of FlyQuest, right? Because on the back half of that, where they're still trying to chase after Zinie in this mid lane, they're also getting the Drake at the same time. Really great use of all this bot side pressure they've been able to establish previously. And as soon as they see the ability to go in, Seos has to use this defensively. The rest of his team is not there yet, so he dies immediately on the back half of this fight.
Yep, pops the clone, does try to get out, but Gryffinn guesses right and bites him in half, had the Dusk and Dawn for this fight. And you can see when Gakgos comes in, they have this kind of continued fight in mid lane that I guess we're not going to watch, but yes, there is some AP damage on the other side. Like, Zinie is a Ryze, but for that fight, he had Merc Treads, a Tier, and a Catalyst. So you are not doing anything at that point.
And I like the choice Gryffinn made with the clones, because the other clone, if that was the right one, it's flung into the waiting arms of your teammates. Even if he hits the blast cone, he's dead anyway. Yep. The bottom right clone is the only one that had a chance of maybe escaping. So I think that Gryffinn made the right choice there 10 times out of 10. FlyQuest up 3,000 gold still, just about 15 minutes on the clock. 7-1 scoreline early on here in this second game. And Shopify has quickly got to find a way to stop this bleeding, my friends, because if it gets much worse, they're going to be praying for FlyQuest mistakes, and that's it.
Yeah, and what a different tale of the mid lane in this game, right? Because Quad, we talked about him getting involved early with his team, with that Taliyah wall, as they're going to look to get on Fudge.
Yeah, Fudge has got to be careful here. Does manage to clear a little bit further. Death Sentence does not hit the Gnar. Massu has Graviton, but he's got to be a bit careful as Contractz shows up and the wind becomes lightning, doesn't find the right target. Gryffinn is going to be left for dead. Pop Blossom from Seos hits Cryogen, but there's no additional damage. Gryffinn the only casualty so far. The minion wave has crashed into the Tier 1 turret. FlyQuest wants to try to get away. Massu surely knows he's dead here, but a beautiful Death Sentence means he doesn't die alone. Cryogen will fall, and honestly, big punish coming out of Shopify there in a 3-for-1.
Yeah, and just as we were praising FlyQuest for being kind of aggressive within reason, they really overextend on that topside play where the rest of Shopify were able to get in. As we see, Gakgos is going to be able to push in this bot wave. But yeah, this is a nice little counter punch from Shopify.
The Dusk and Dawn really goes to your head, you know? he was
I'm full build, guys.
He was feeling himself. I mean, it's a pretty big overchase. The Q is going to expire. He ults in, but the Q stun expires before he even gets there. Then the Flay comes out. Great sidestep by Fudge. And now you are between two towers with everyone from Shopify coming in. Massu needs to kite away from them, but if he kites too far back, he's getting hit by the tower. So it's kind of just an impossible to play fight. They almost burst down Contractz. He flashes away from Massu's ulti, but we're back fighting again.
Yeah, we're already back to live. It was flash from Gryffinn, flash from Zinie, and there's enough damage left on the Volibear to finish the kill on the Ryze. 30-second death timer, but what else can they get from it? There is still turrets standing at the Tier 1 level, top lane and mid lane. You can see Quad pushing out that top lane right now. No neutrals to fight over, but a little bit of plate money on your already fed Taliyah could help FlyQuest to accelerate this lead even more.
And we're talking about all the move speed from Massu last game. He's got a lot this game too. Stormrazor Rush, he's playing Fleet, and he went Swifties, right? So he has a tremendous amount of move speed, especially on those procs for the Fleet, as well as that Stormrazor, which is going to make it a lot more difficult to stick to him. It's super valuable against champions like the Xin, like the Gnar, who, you know, are going to have trouble actually getting through the Thresh, right? You're trying to get in onto this guy through box, through Flay, through Lantern, and that is going to make things really, really tough.
biggest individual lead this game is nearly 1,500 gold. Here in the mid lane, 4 quads Taliyah, Ryze, Seraphs, Enchanted Mercury Treads. This Taliyah is feeling so strong, and with 60 seconds on the clock until the 3rd Drake of the game, I have to feel like FlyQuest as a whole is feeling confident in their ability to just say, if it's a fight on even terms, we win.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's so tough for all of these kind of shorter range champions to be able to find those entrants into fights.
Okay, immediate ulti coming out from Gryffinn here with a seismic shove on Contractz, knocks him back into the team. You want to take a free dragon, kill the enemy jungler. Contractz is going to respawn just in time for that timer, but he'll be trapped in the base. Zinie's dead here too, and things just aren't getting any better for Shopify Rebellion. A TP also coming in now from FlyQuest to reinforce the top lane so Fudge doesn't get anything on the other side of the map.
Yep, and see if they want to go after Seos.
Yeah, Seos, the flash into the stun immediately locks him up. Seos with a flash away from the lightning crash means that he will not die there. But man, FlyQuest are not giving him room to breathe.
This is just such a fun team to watch, right? Like they're saying, we're stronger, we're just gonna fight you. They're not giving him any room to breathe, as you said. Just constantly in their face, non-stop forcing fights here. You know, Fudge wants to play like a slow game through side lanes and whittle down towers. You are not getting a chance. And if they catch you, your Ryze slowed and you are not getting away either.
All right, Dragon is the target here for Shopify, trying to get anything they can in a game that is getting further and further away from their grasp. But FlyQuest have brought the whole party here too. Fudge running low on the Gnar bar as Cryogen's the target for Bvoy, but he's not low enough health to try to burst him down. Mountain Drake claimed by Shopify. Big move there from Contractz, hitting the smite. But can FlyQuest find anything afterwards? It doesn't quite look like it. They're going to walk away. So chalk that one up as a win for the Rebellion.
Yeah, I feel like Cryogen was really out of position there. You know, you're not playing Alistar. You're not a flanking champion, right? You need to kind of be with the team to step forward and have that threat of the hook to create space for your team. So being on the wrong side, I think Bvoy plays that well. He realizes, who cares? You can hook me. You're by yourself. I'll kill you. So just pushes him out, makes it be that just that flip for the dragon. And this time Contractz gets the better of Gryffinn, able to take that away, which is really nice after what happened last game.
Yeah, and Bvoy was previously down over 1K, right? He's completely back in the game, I believe, after that topside fight. So if he does get isolated with someone like Cryogen, it's going to hurt. Like, he will easily be able to kill him off. And that was kind of the... This FlyQuest team is super fun to watch. I do think we will see some more tiny moments like that, right, where someone's on the slightly wrong side of the fight. But I am really loving just how they're establishing pressure on the map, kind of moving together in 2s and 3s and just trying to pick off Shopify where they can.
And I just think it's such an exciting start to the year for LCS, where we have these teams that were kind of, you know, not expected to have big performances, like DSG yesterday, you know, FlyQuest today, teams that were, you know, having subs or young players, and you're kind of thinking, all right, well, if you're going to get there, it's going to take some time, right? You know, even talking to the teams, they thought it was going to take some time. I did the draw show. Massu, when they got drafted in, literally was like, yeah, I don't think we're as good as Shopify right now. But, you know, he thought they could be later on. But see, this kind of a start, this kind of confidence is just really, really nice. It's what you want from a young team. Impressive individual mechanics, a lot of confidence, just take fights and try to outplay your opponents, and you can kind of learn the rest of the nuances of the game over time.
I feel like if there's any time to play fast and loose and see how far your hands are going to take you, it's lock-in tournament. It's the start of the year. Figure out what your current limitations and your goals to break those should look like. And right now, FlyQuest is putting on a solid early showing. We have less than 3 minutes until the next Drake spawns. Baron obviously on the rift with a little bit of vision from both teams around that topside area, but it is more favoring FlyQuest. Fudge wants to go for the Mega Gnar into the wall there. Does force the flash out of quad in response. We'll see if Shopify can turn that into an opportunity to target that Taliyah in a future team fight.
Yeah, and so Gryffinn is just going to go more of a competitive style build. Dusk and Dawn into tank, you know, has that unending despair. So not doing anything too crazy. No quick blades like you see in solo queue a lot of the time. And sometimes, you know, you're going to see even that and then more AP. But obviously like Cosmic Drive and things like that. But this is more standard and is still going to give him some dueling power.
Okay, quad again, going to be targeted by Fudge, who flashes away from the seismic shove, wants to guarantee the kill on the FlyQuest mid laner here, nearly gets it, but close isn't good enough. Quad survives 100 HP.
Phase Rush, Ghost, Ryze. It is a big move speed difference. He just kind of popped Ghost and ran right past him, even without being able to hit that seismic shove. So Fudge forces a flash, but then loses his flash on the next play.
Yeah, and while we have seen Fudge be trying to go for these kills as early as just the super early 1v1 top lane, right? It always seems like his opponent has been able to escape
just barely
somehow. Yeah, and you and I were talking about this off camera yesterday, Isaac, about Sion and how difficult, like just what a valuable champion he is for so many compositions, how strong he is coming out of this top lane, and then also how difficult it is to keep him down because the only answer is to just kind of repeatedly dive him or really, really shove him into the ground early.
Yeah. Which is so hard to do because you have a champion, a tank that has 3 AoE abilities and an ult that does AoE damage and can get back to you lane faster, and a passive that also lets you get experience and clear up the wave even if you die. So Fudge now maybe gonna get chased down. Yeah,
the decimating smash knocks him up into the air, even though Gryffinn got knocked away there by the Mega Gnar ulti. The Volibear is right back in business with a point-and-click stun. Decimating smash on top of it makes it all too easy to land every other skill shot. Griffin's gonna take his 3rd kill of the game. Yeah, it always just feels like in Sion matchups, you get to a point you're like, all right, you have 5 CS lead. He has 1,000 free health. Yeah, doesn't feel great, but FlyQuest are loving the way things are right now. 3,500 gold lead. Wave crashing into the tier 2 turret mid. 25 seconds on the clock until the next Drake spawns. Gakgos going to collect more plate money from the tier 2 in the bottom lane as well. And with mid and bot lane both shoved up, the map is in the state you would want it to be for a dragon spawn.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked, but they had that slightly over-aggressive play on the top side, right? But even with how they've been willing to hit the go button so frequently, they've actually been playing out this mid game pretty patiently, really trying to set up their side lanes, getting picks when they can in them, and that's set up for this completely uncontested Drake, and now they're on Soul Point.
Yeah, and I'm just really concerned for Shopify because even though Ryze does scale well, can be really powerful, you know, later on into the game, you're so short range and there's so much CC over on the other team that it is really hard to think about a fight where he can actually get into the back line, be hitting these carries without just getting like flayed into Unraveled Earth and stunned, and then Volibear stunned, and then Sion stunned, and then, you know, like all of this CC is really, really tough. So it feels like you are depending now on Seos and Fudge. Like you need flanking engages, you need that big Pop Blossom on the back line, you need the multi-man Mega Gnar to kind of create that chaos in that space where Zinie and Bvoy and Contractz can thrive, because otherwise, like, you try to walk at them, there's just no chance it's ever going to work, and you're looking at luxury items coming through, things like the Mikhails to try to keep them safe, the Lantern, all those kind of extra tools are there that are going to make it so tough to knock down someone like Massu, who's on this super high DPS build. LDR is completed, already had his IE second. So it's going to be really, really tough for Shopify. It requires them to have deep vision, great teleports, I think, to really have a chance.
All right, well, in terms of teleports, they do have it available for Fudge. Over on the other side, you can see also available for Gakgos. Since both mid laners are running Ghost this game with no Summoner Spellbook, it means that's really the only big macro summoners we're looking at this game. And both the Gnar and the Sion are now set up in the bottom lane. Still 3.5 minutes until the next Drake spawns, means that nobody else really needs to hang out around here. FlyQuest do have control over the topside river and the Baron Pit here at the same time. There is that one ward from Shopify that's immediately seen now by the control ward from FlyQuest, so that's going to get cleared out too. And now the pressure also starts to mount for Shopify Rebellion. Could they be sneaking Baron? We've got to make sure that we've got vision on this. Don't let them get away with it, as it feels like the map and their influence of it continues to shrink.
Yeah, and it makes it super dangerous for Shopify to kind of go in, as you see Cryogen still tracking Seos, fighting over vision in this Baron Pit, with how pick heavy and just how much this FlyQuest composition can lock you down. It just makes it even scarier for Shopify to kind of go in and check these darker parts of the map.
And they're just going to be hitting the Baron. Seos is going to get eyes on it, so they're aware of it. But the question is, can they do anything? Fudge is moving up. We'll see how quickly he can get there. Yeah, FlyQuest wants to just get some kind of resources out of Shopify, some kind of movement. Contractz just loses a massive chunk of HP there, about a quarter of his health. The single auto attack from Massu. Griffin's doing a lot of damage here to the Baron. Cryogen finds a death sentence onto Zinie. Chunks him down, but Cryogen's also low now. Gakgos in the middle of everybody. Gryffinn coming around from the side and locks up Zinie again. Seos on the approach, but here comes the Weaver's Wall. Quad has arrived into the fight as Shopify scatter and try to escape.
Lock up onto only the clone there, and everyone from Shopify gets out. Zinie and Fudge, both Shopify Rebellion solo laners, very low on HP.
But look at the flashes. 4 missing flashes from Shopify, so they had to spend so many of those tools, and 4 are still available on the other side. They're just going to go right back to the Baron and give them no time at all.
And this is something I was talking about earlier with the lack of teleports in this game. It's much harder for Zinie to get in here. He has Realm Warp to try to close the distance if he can. Seo's still on the flank. Fudge and Bvoy looking for the opportunity, but Fudge has no Gnar bar. He has to fight as many Gnar if they want to go in. Contractz being chased back away by Gryffinn as the Baron will partially reset. Griffin's over the wall, nearly kills Contractz, instantly goes on a killing spree, right back over to grab his Eve off. And Gryffinn is beast mode on the Volibear. A double kill as he knocks down Bvoy. The bear is there and he just don't care. Gryffinn will finally fall, but it's a good death.
Oh my God, Gryffinn just straight up like 1v2'd them there, man. They pull off the Baron, he just goes for the fight, knocks down Contractz, and then takes even more. The team won't stop.
They are not done yet. A rampage for Quad as Seos cannot escape the fallout of the fight. Zinie continues pushing up the mid lane here, but he's greeted by Massu, who does have purple gun. Nobody else around on the FlyQuest side means Zinie is just fine.
Yeah, as we see this again, they do Realm Warp in immediately, and Gryffinn is just like, I need to take Contractz out of this, right? The curious thing to me is how long he survives to be able to get that kill into Contractz, goes right back in onto Bvoy.
Well, the biggest thing there for me is the fact that as he was going in, he ults in, and then he flashes back into his Sky Splitter. That's why he instant flashed back over the wall, because the E was coming down. So he flashes back into the Sky Splitter, gets the shield, is able to keep that fully stacked lethal tempo up, and just knocks down another one. That was sick from Gryffinn. And that is the power of the Dusk and Dawn. This item is ridiculously powerful in the right hands. And that is clone after clone.
Good catch there from Cryogen, finds Seos, and that is the real Neeko. Trying to get away, not gonna happen. Quad is unstoppable, and that Sky Splitter that you're talking about, Azael, that is the difference between getting the second kill and not. It was such a small amount of HP, Sky Splitter more than accounts for that. As now with the enemy support dead, one of those huge, big engage mechanisms, there's no way for Shopify to approach the Baron, and that's Baron going the way of FlyQuest, as Shopify are gonna try to take the consolation prize of the Drake. This will set them to Soul Point, but now they've got to weather the Baron Storm for the next 3 minutes.
And I just love how
we're doing it.
After that duel that he had, he's like, you know what? I will build Navori.
Will he even get to it before they close out this game?
He is looking fearsome, though. What a great debut so far for Gryffinn. Had a slower start in game 1, but ended up being huge for them throughout the later stages. And in this second game, he has been massive. You know, Zinie is trying to split push, trying to get something going, but I just feel like they don't care at all.
Yeah, we've got everybody from FlyQuest minus Gakgos pushing up this mid lane. That inhibitor gets claimed. Gakgos is over in mid, getting the second lane primed and ready to go for the push to rotate over right after. Fudge is going to try to stop this one as FlyQuest decide they are not going to continue full pressing on this. They're going to reset. They're going to purchase, spend some of that money. Still deathless on Quad's Taliyah here in the mid lane. Deathless on Gakgos' Sion up there in the top side.
This FlyQuest team is so fun. I know we've said this so many times, but like it is amazing to just watch a team that just believes in their own mechanics so much. The shocking thing for me is I just didn't think they'd be this well coordinated.
Yeah.
Especially with how
day one.
Yeah, with how they've actually like played out the map. Like team fights, yes, but just how they've played out their lead has been so impressive for a team that's been together for such a short amount of time.
It really is. I feel like they're kind of just playing, you know, in this one way where they're feeling like, okay, we are stronger. We are going to force fights. That is what we are going to do. Quick plays are now done. So Gryffinn wants to fight anyone on the map. You pretty much don't lose 1v1s as long as you can hit. Actualizer is done for Zinie, so that is a pretty big spike if you can find that perfect combo with that item active.
Yeah, Actualizer is pretty nutty on Ryze. You can get over 6,000 mana with this ridiculous thing. You have 2 tier items alongside it, but it's still a very, very uphill battle for the Shopify side. Down over 5,000 gold. At least they do have Soul Point. I feel like if maybe they can hold out and somehow secure the Mountain Soul, that's pretty much the only chance they've got here. But FlyQuest have just been been playing much more of a coordinated game. Massu staying safe there. Pulled back to safety. Shopify Rebellion will defend the mid lane inhibitor, but not the turret that protects it.
They did get the Mikhails there off of Cryogen, so they did force that out onto Massu, but Massu's just kind of healing right back up. The Actualizer right now, when popped, it's 33% more damage, as well as 30% off of his basic cooldowns. So if Ryze can find the angle, there's always a chance with this item. Are they going to go?
They want the angle right now. They're putting Seos on the flank to try to go in for the Pop Blossom, but FlyQuest sniffs it out as Seos has to try to run away from Gryffinn. Sky Splitter tags him for a little chunk of damage, but he does escape the CC. And that's Realm Warp. That's your chance of catching somebody off guard, and it just completely floundered.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because they clearly weren't confident to like fully send it in the middle of FlyQuest. They were kind of trying to do it almost as like a pseudo flank, but that's always going to be marked and found out by one of these strong FlyQuest members. So it just didn't feel like they were willing to fully commit to it, and if you're not, you don't have a chance.
And Gryffinn will make sure that he auto attacks down this mid lane inhibitor. Nearly gets it, but it actually survives at 5 HP as Gryffinn has to defensively ult away to stay alive. Zinie does not get hooked by the death sentence. Wave crashing into the tier 3 turret in the bottom lane here at the same time, but that one's still got plenty of plates left. FlyQuest splitting attention between this mid lane inhibitor that only needs a quick tap to knock it over, and the bottom lane inhibitor turret where Massu's trying to keep the waves crashing in. Honestly, a little bit of a tragedy here for FlyQuest as that mid lane inhib stays standing, and Shopify will take everything they can get.
Yeah, I mean, it could matter here in a minute because you talked about the potential win condition for Shopify is still probably getting Mountain Soul. You're praying that you get a Mountain Soul somehow, that you can stabilize the game, and meaning that they have that extra inhib up. But yeah, they still lost the top one, but at least it won't be those 2 inhibs down for when you're having to deal with that on the other side of the map.
Okay, could be a catch here. Quad knocked up into the air by the 3 Talon strike. Flash over the seismic shove from Contractz. A stasis from Quad to buy an extra moment, but he is shut down. That's 1,000 gold in the Zhao's pocket. Wind becomes lightning, and Gryffinn is the next target. Fudge with the Mega Gnar into the wall, and now they're going to take Gryffinn out as well, but Zinie dies in trade. FlyQuest brings in the reinforcements, but Shopify still get a 2-for-1.
Yeah, and Seos and Bvoy are here. If they overchase, they can actually walk right into this Neeko. We'll see.
And there's Massu. He's caught immediately. The burst is down, and there goes the AD carry from FlyQuest. Massive mistakes at a massive moment, and with 20 seconds on the clock for the Mountain Soul, Shopify have found their hope.
And they are going to be sprinting towards that Drake pit. In that initial fight, Zinie survives for so long when Gryffinn kind of makes the choice, okay, Quad, you're going to die anyway. I'm going to jump onto the Ryze. He survives just long enough for the rest of Shopify. Here's where they think they get the catch onto Quad.
I mean, I just think Quad was playing with fire here. Like, what was he doing? He saw them in his face, and he just kind of stayed around for so long, gives over that 1K, everyone gets pulled in. Gryffinn is an insanely powerful duelist at this point of the game, but only if you can hit. He's just getting chain CC'd as Fudge arrives, and then they just lost track of where Seos and Bvoy could be. They had no vision in the jungle, walk straight in. Bvoy and Seos delete Massu. That is their only carry. And this was all precipitated by this overextension from Quad. He's just way too far up. He's playing with fire, dies for free, and now Soul is on the other team, and you're in danger of potentially losing this game.
The Think Card head scratch is the most appropriate emote for that sequence, I feel like, for a lot of FlyQuest fans, because it does just seem like a silly blunder compared to the coordination they've had for the rest of the game. But now it does give Shopify a fighting chance here in Game 2. They are still down 3,500 gold, but with the Mountain Soul in their possession, it pretty much makes up for that. So let's see who's going to have the better team fight here as FlyQuest again seek to control the topside river around the Baron pit.
Yeah, and that Drake that Contractz secured earlier in the game becoming absolutely crucial, allowing Shopify to catch, really make the most out of that mistake from Quad on the top side. Now they're right back into this.
Oh, Gakgos
we'll see
is
what
looking.
Fire doing.
Okay, there it is. Gakgos coming around from the side, wants to look at only a clone. Not really anything valuable there for FlyQuest to claim. They will at least secure the Scuttle Crab as their reward, but Shopify disengaged there very cleanly. Another clone going to be used for scouting purposes. Finds the control ward in the brush. Death sentence attempted there in case Shopify got a little bit too antsy with their vision clearing.
And now Zinie, since we last checked in, has a full Void Staff. So he is really going to be starting to hurt the front line. Has the Actualizer, obviously is on those 4 fully completed items. Massu's still a very big lead down on that bot side, though. Gryffinn as well. So they are still, I feel like, somewhat in the driver's seat, but Mountain Soul making this very close after it felt like it was going to be a Game 2 stomp.
And based on what you said earlier, when we saw the mistake play, the throw up in the top lane from FlyQuest, Azael, if Gryffinn is not chain CC'd, this Volibear is a nightmare to try to kill. Navori fully completed, the cooldowns are virtually non-existent, but if they can lock him up, he's not super durable. As now, Shopify have begun the Baron. They've got it down to 1/3 HP. Are they going to try to burst this, or are they going to risk a flip? Seo's coming around for the flank, Contractz in the middle of everybody, but where's the follow-up pop blossom? Shopify got to be careful now as FlyQuest continue to defend. Bvoy firing off some rockets. Quad goes over the wall. The Weaver's wall trying to create some chaos. Fudge is locked up. The Gnar transforms just in time, but he should still die here. Another rock is thrown, and Fudge is gone. A kill for Massu as Zinie drops, and Shopify Rebellion are now caught on the wrong side of the map. It's Contractz, Seos, and Bvoy in a 3v5. They're going to need some kind of miracle here as they
Massu's going mid
towards the enemy turret. Massu's going to go mid because these death timers will be delayed. The rest of FlyQuest is confident in their ability to 4v3. There's still 40 seconds on both dead players for the Rebellion, and now the remaining 3 will try to re-engage onto Gryffinn. Plenty of damage here as Bvoy's first to die. Resurrection comes through on Contractz, and Seos is going to drop next. Contractz can't get away, and Massu's position in the enemy base sets FlyQuest up for the win. Massu will do plenty of work. Gakgos is going to show up with the TP to help him. And FlyQuest, recognizing their chance, will stop any Shopify hope. And the new FlyQuest rebuild starts 2026 with a 2-0 win.
What are you talking about, rebuild? They're already online. They're already here.
This team was so much fun to watch. So much aggression. Had some mistakes, but just kind of fought through it. They just kept going. So much aggression from these youngsters on FlyQuest. Really just made it a super exciting series.
And the most important thing isn't that you never make mistakes, right? Because you're always going to make mistakes in any game of League of Legends. But the most important part is just how this team bounced back after being set behind in game 1, after that kind of iffy quad getting caught out on the top side in game 2, they still stuck together, were able to follow up. Congratulations, FlyQuest.
What a debut.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff from a new roster, the youngest roster like we already talked about. Clearly, the lights aren't too bright, the nerves aren't too intense. They're seeming to have a great time out here. And for Shopify, I think